Hello and welcome to my top 10 worst films of 2019, and although I'll start with number 10, it's a joint number 10. The first one is Welcome to Curiosity. This had a great big surprise for me. Despite a number of people being in the cast, who'd have thought that the person to come out best from all this would be the incredibly untalented Richard Blackwood. The plot's fairly standard stuff. Good guys, bad guys, double crossing, and a shootout where someone jumps over a car bonnet and lets rip with two handguns at once, a la John Woo. But it feels very lock, stock, light and comes across as a student production, rather than a film that's aimed at a cinema release. Also at number 10 is The Post. Every now and again, Spielberg pulls out a turkey, and this Pentagon Papers pish came in early January. There are deep government secrets about the Vietnam War. The New York Times has stolen a march on everyone by publishing some of the documents, but Washington Post editor Tom Hanks now has a full set of what became known as the Pentagon Papers, and wants to put out the whole lot. Along with the newspaper's owner, Meryl Streep, they both sleepwalk in a mediocre fashion throughout the whole thing. The problem with this film is that it assumes that everyone watching it is going to significantly care about how the US government lied for years about the Vietnam War. As I upload this, it's the end of 2018, 15 years after the invasion of Iraq, which was based on a lie. So these days, you assume all governments are going to lie, because that's what they do for a living. Perhaps if this film had come out 40 years ago, it would have had more relevance. And number 9, The Bombing, aka Airstrike. It's got Bruce Willis. It's got Adrian Brody. Well, in the course of just over 2 hours, Bruce is in it for about 10 minutes, and Brody about 2 minutes. The dialogue feels like something from a bad soap opera. The World War II scenes of bombing and aerial combat look like a CGI cutscene from a PlayStation 3 video game, and despite all this, everyone is still obsessed with an annual Mahjong contest. So instead of an action movie, it's more like the 80s TV show Play Chess.
Well now, Bill, take us through the rest of the game, move by move.
Well, we left it with the Queen having just come out to this square, eyeing the Black King.
And number 8, it's a joint number 8. This is the last joint, so don't worry. It's Tag, which is a film which seemed rather childish from its premise, as lifelong friends have, annually, during the month of May, been playing the same game of tag since they were, children. In its opening scene, it was already beginning to lose me, as Hogan Hoagie Malloy, Ed Helms, takes on a job as a janitor, then does something to irritate black interviewer Reggie, Lil Rel Howery, and Reggie mutters, "Huh, white people." So, it appears racism is okay if you're black and criticising white people. Right. What the film boils down to, though, is the intent for a group of grown men to finally tag Jeremy Renner, the one friend who can never be tagged, always finding a way to avoid it, and is about to retire from the game. Can they finally get him? Will you care? Oh, and for a change of pace, Jake Johnson from Let's Be Cops plays a druggy slacker. As much as Tag sucks as a film, though, it does have one of the best end credit sequences of 2018, and what a lot of people would have missed if they'd left as soon as the credits began. In it, you see Jeremy Renner leading a cover version of the Crash Test Dummies with the other lead actors vocalising. And another number 8, it's Ant-Man and the Wasp. Anyone who's read my reviews will know I'm getting rather tired of superhero movies, and I'll now just go and see the all-together ones like Avengers Endgame, and I'll just skip the origin stories. But Paul Rudd continues to be the actor with the least amount of charisma ever. Michelle Pfeiffer has long since disappeared into the quantum realm, so Rudd, Michael Douglas and Evangeline Lilly are trying to find a way to get her back. There's terrible dialogue. There's zero regard for the public, such as in a scene where they de-shrink the car, thus flipping over the baddie's van, and, well, that could have hit someone. There's also a scene where the Wasp is running along the edge of a sharp knife, which is very similar to what we saw Ant-Man do in the first film. But rather than see her run along it, she starts to do so, and then it cuts back to the person who threw it, and then when the camera returns to her, she's just finished. How stupid can you possibly be? to cut away from the money shot, especially when you've spent all the money creating it. And this scene is in full in the trailer. Good Lord. Number 7, Solo, A Star Wars Story. The laziest cash grab in the returning Star Wars saga so far. It's got Emilia Clarke. She can't act. It's got Donald Glover. Is he an actor or a rapper? He can't do either. It's got Phoebe Waller-Bridge from BBC Three's god-awful man-hating Fleabag. It's got no real reason to exist whatsoever. And did I say Paul Rudd had zero charisma? Well, step up Alden Ehrenreich as Han Solo. My choice, as I've said many times before, would be Anthony Gruber, who played a young Harrison Ford in The Age of Adeline. I mean, he actually looked like him. And number 6, Ideal Home, with Steve Coogan and, Paul Rudd. They're a warring gay couple who find things change unexpectedly when Coogan's 10-year-old grandson turns up to surprise him with his existence. The film has way too many lame attempts at humour, such as the problem of enrolling him in school because they take too long in asking the lad what his name is. I get that he doesn't want to talk loads as he initially arrives, but at least give us some sense of plausibility. Between one or two minor giggles, I'm still waiting to laugh. To ram the virtue signalling feel-good message home, the end credits are peppered with pictures of same-sex couples with their children. At number 5, it's King of Crime. I was a big fan of ITV's The Bill, and this one has got Jim Carver and Burnside. Sadly, Burnside gets little to do other than be a butler to Carver. Meanwhile, Carver, as big mafia-type guy Marcus King, swaggers in like Mr. Big, but he doesn't convince as someone with the gravitas of his Quadrophenia co-star Ray Winston in Scum. When the house is set on fire, trapping someone inside, the fire and smoke CGI is so bad I ended up laughing my head off. The level of acting is risible and forced, continuity is out the window altogether, and all the bad guys are about as threatening as Floella Benjamin from Play School. At number 4, it's Siberia, where John Wick's Keanu Reeves plays Lucas Hill. He lives in a big posh house, like John Wick. He knows someone who is no longer around, like John Wick. He comes up against some Russian baddies, like John Wick. He has a friend who's gone missing in Siberia, but when he gets there, instead of looking for him, he'd rather get his feet under the table with Katya, even though they have zero chemistry. He's a diamond dealer, but at the same time, he goes on a bear hunt. He then sleeps with Katya. He drinks vodka with Russian men. He sleeps with Katya again. And there's a wife-swapping scene that makes no sense. I did rather like the early morning shot of St. Petersburg, as well as other scenes in the city, which reminded me that I'd love to revisit there one day. But diamonds, Russian girlfriend, missing best friend, it's like they took several ideas for a plot, which we've seen countless times before, put them in a Scrabble bag, jumbled them around, and took them out one by one to see which came up first. Siberia left me cold. At number 3, we have Tomb Raider 2018. Now, I love the original Tomb Raider games, and the Angelina Jolie movies it spawned were okay-ish. Tomb Raider 2018 takes its cue from the 2013 reboot of the game series, looking at a younger version of Lara Croft played by Alicia Vikander. She's the best thing about this, as she looks tanned and well-toned, jumping about, falling onto rocks and into CGI water. Daddy Dominic West is missing, presumed dead, so there's a large inheritance to be claimed, but she's refused to partake of it until now and would rather stay broke, which is ridiculous in this day and age. Good job she does capitulate in the end though, since that leads her to a discovery with all his research on some mysterious being known as Himiko. There's a discovery for us viewers too, since the graveyard highlights her mother as being alive from 1964 to 1996, the latter being the year in which the first Tomb Raider game was released. Elsewhere, the film falls down in so many ways. The usually engaging Walton Goggins makes for one of the worst baddies ever as Matthias Vogel. There's plenty of lazy writing, meaning the best catchphrase they can give her is, "I'm not that kind of Croft," when people misjudge her character's resilience. And the film really suffers because it plays out like a female Indiana Jones movie, but without any humour. At number 2, it's 50 Shades Freed, Extended Edition. This time round, Anna and Christian are now married. But life's no longer going to be a party once he stops being able to get it up. Maybe. Someone tries to blow up his business, and someone tries to run them off the road. Sadly, they don't succeed. On the plus side, I like that she tells him to shave. Beards are so stupid. It's also amusing when she tells other women to remember their place when it comes to dealing with her and a new hubby, since one of them is making eyes at him whilst treating her as if she doesn't exist. However, this begs a question. Since he's so unshaven on his face, why does he then take the time to purposely remove the hair on his forearms? Just makes him look like one of those show-off dicks in the gym. Beyond that slight bit of humour, unless you care about the two of them having a lot of "How's your father?", this is a thoroughly boring movie with nothing going on. A bit like watching an episode of EastEnders or Coronation Street, and with about as much thought given to the script. And number 1, Escape Plan 2, Hades, which follows on from 2013's original movie, which was hit and miss, but still watchable. Arnie is nowhere to be found, but Sylvester Stallone is back as prison escapologist Ray Breslin, in a sequel which may have felt like a great idea until it turned out to be straight to DVD fare. Breslin now manages a team of people to carry out the work he did in the first film, which means all Stallone has to do really is just turn up for a while to boss people about before the main man, Shu, is transferred to Hades for reasons that don't really matter, and he has to escape. But first, he needs a plan. Yeah, an escape plan of some sort. Now, what could they have called the movie? As for the plot, the inmates seem to have nothing better to do all day than battle things out in the zoo, effectively the gladiatorial-style centre of their prison. Alas, with nothing but punching to get stuck into, the violence is quite lame in this, and it's also quickly cut together with every other frame missing, so it tries to look frenetic but just comes across as completely unengaging. Stallone's makeup is done to the point where he looks like he's living in the times of Hugh Laurie as Prince George in Blackadder III. And never mind escaping from the prison, what about the moment when one person can simply just walk in? Yes, Dave Bautista seemingly just wanders in through the back door to save the day while carrying a gun. Escape Plan 2 Hades is so pointless, and at one point a bunch of albinos appear in the prison and I have absolutely no idea why. But if you did still like this, then, well, you're in luck. They're already planning Escape Plan 3 Devil Station, and this film does actually set up a potential sequel. As I upload this after 3 months of release, Escape Plan 2 was just a mere £3.99 each on Blu-ray and DVD, making this as epic a fail as the Sony's PlayStation Classic. So, which was your worst film of 2018? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. My top 10 best films of 2018 will soon be online, but in the meantime, please like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already, and click on the little bell to get all the notifications, and cue Genesis.